cars. It's not really happening.
But you keep going back to that, and I've said,
Well, because that's the most
fair
inflammatory
enough,
thing that you said, and I think it was in a British National Party manifesto in 2011.
But I'm only saying from people.
It was a lie then, and it's a lie
in
now.
the council, okay, fair enough. Then we'll call that a lie. But when we come to a housing situation, that's not a lie.
Well, no, of course it's not a lie, but everybody needs somewhere to live, and if they were putting the people that we're talking about in
I know, but can you?
You
but
can't
what I'm
keep-
saying is, this is why people get upset.
Yes, but they'd be even more upset if they were being put in smarter parts of town. This is why it's such a reductive argument, is that they put the asylum seekers in the cheapest property available. Now, your argument is, but there are some people who were born here who want the cheapest property available as well.
What is up, everybody? Harry here. This is James O'Brien on LBC with a caller named Anna, who describes her dad, a retired scaffolder, struggling to make ends meet, and his frustration watching asylum seekers in his area, apparently, receive cars and other benefits. O'Brien keeps asking one simple question: where did you hear that? And Anna's specific claims about free cars don't hold up, while a different, more grounded concern about housing allocation emerges underneath it. This is a genuinely useful call to slow down and separate carefully. Which claims are checkable myths and which are legitimate, real frustrations? Let's get into it.
Anna is in Middlesbrough. Anna, what would you like to say?
So first, before I say it, firstly, I'd like to say that I do agree with probably 99% of your politics.
Of course.
But I do find sometimes that you're quite condescending.
I'm sure
and
I am.
think that people they can come to these conclusions just because, like, they read and hear things.
What else happens, do you think?
So I come from quite a low-class area, and it is an area where a lot of asylum seekers and refugees get put. My dad's a 70-odd-year-old ex-scaffolder. In fact, he was only finished scaffolding 67 years ago. A few years ago at 67. He was scaffolding up until the age of 67.
Yeah.
He's now on a pension. He can barely afford to eat or put his heating on, living hand to mouth. And we live in an area where it started off with one family, because it's a working class area, but it's a nice area in a working class area. So it's quite sought after accommodation. And they were from Syria. They were put there because they were chased out of another area. The people in where my dad lives welcomed this family, and actually my dad stood guard on this house one night when some racists were trying to get at them. But since then, quite a lot of their extended families have been moved into the area. We've seen, like, my dad sees them, they've all got nice cars, nice clothes, mobile phones. And it does get my dad upset when he can barely afford to, get a week's shopping in.
Yes. And does he believe that they've been given their cars and their phones by the government or something like that?
Well, we do know that they do all get a hand up to get started. Now, they are grafters. I'm not taking anything away from them, because I actually agree that we do need to help people. So they're working? But some of them are, yeah. The males in the family are. The women, obviously, they aren't allowed. Yeah.
So what exactly? So they're working. You said they're grafters. So they're working very hard, and they've got a nice car. What is your dad cross about?
No, it's not. It's because of the area we live, and it's like, obviously, whenever like any of the council houses has become available, it's been given to an asylum seeking family. Yeah. And obviously, I know people that work in the local council. I think
it would be someone who's
get their furniture and everything provided. They do get a very big hand up to start.
Yes. They don't. They don't. Well, how big is it, Anna?
Well, they get the houses furnished. They do get provided cars and things like that.
They don't get provided with cars, Anna.
They have done.
They don't.
From what I've seen.
But the thing is now, I have to say, where did you hear that? And you say that I'm condescending because people believe this stuff independently of having been told it by people who aren't telling them the truth, you see. I don't want to be condescending, and I understand why you use that word, but where did you hear that asylum seekers are given free cars?
I'm not saying all asylum seekers.
But
are given free
where did you
cars.
hear it?
I've got friends that work in the local council that work a part of these, and it's again.
What sorts of cars do they get?
I'm not. Well, I'm not. I don't know that like precisely for every single one. I'm not. What I'm saying is.
Well, I heard what you're saying. Everyone can hear what you're saying, Anna.
What the area I live in,
Yeah.
and it's always the asylum seekers are always put in lower class, underprivileged areas, and the reason people get annoyed,
Yes.
and whether it's right or wrong, well, it is wrong, but it's not because of necessarily that they're getting, it's because they're struggling as well.
What
and
would
not
your
getting
dad
help.
feel? What would they feel like if they were put in smarter areas than where you live, where your dad lives?
Well, our area wouldn't see them, would we? I mean, I'm
No,
not being
but if
funny,
you-
James.
you-
How many council estates have you lived on?
Well, two, but a long time ago, and it doesn't really mean anything in the greater scheme of things because the
Well,
daily.
it does, and look, like, when they're
Well, let me tell you
struggling to
why.
live anywhere,
But
they're
Anna, the
struggling to
stories.
get house.
Okay, the stories
When
that.
they're struggling to get
Okay, you
house.
carry on, and then I'll have a go.
But this is true, though, because I mean,
Is it as
I've
true
seen
as the
that-
free cars?
You know, you can take the mick out of that all you
I'm
want.
not taking the mick out of it because you'll call me condescending. You've believed something that's not true, Anna, and I don't know how I can help you. But let's focus on the housing bit, because if they were put in Mayfair or Belgravia, or if let's just say they were put in an area where your dad can't afford to live, then that would be the thing that they were getting cross about as well.
But
Unless they actually object to the proximity.
No, it's not a case of the proximity.
What is
it's
it
when
then?
they can't get the houses that are available.
But who can't get? Your
That's
dad's
what I'm
got a
on about.
house.
I'm on about this. I know that because there's people in the area.
Yes.
Well, I'll take for instance then my sister recently. She was private renting. The renter wanted the house back. My sister was trying to get a house and she couldn't get a house for love nor money.
Yes.
So she's
where is she now?
Renting again. She's having to private rent again.
Well,
But she was, and she has.
She got
has
a house
two
then.
children. Yeah, but eventually, and again.
What's the
it was like-
99% of my politics you agree with, Anna? Just out of interest.
Because I'm not saying that we shouldn't be helping. What I'm saying is the
You don't-
reason
they
people are
shouldn't be-
getting angry.
They shouldn't. Well, I
I'm
don't.
not-
But you're getting angry
I'm
about
not-
free cars that don't exist and about people being
No,
housed in
well-
the poorest parts of town. Whereas if they were being put.
I'm not getting angry. I'm trying to explain why people are angry.
But
and why
they're
they get
angry about things that
frustrated.
aren't real.
But that is real, though, James.
But-
You're saying that isn't real
Okay.
about the housing. It's true.
No, but your sister's got a house. And if they put them in areas, if they put them in smarter parts of, if they put them in smarter parts of town,
But when people
then people
can't
would
get
be even
houses,
angrier.
I understand why they would get upset when.
of course I can. If they were homeless people who could afford to pay rent and couldn't get a house that was being given, and also I don't think asylum seekers get houses. You'd have to have had your application actually fully processed at that point, where you become an actual refugee. You are a successful applicant for asylum. And listen, I do understand.
Well, this I disagree because I know for a fact.
I do understand. Well, you knew
get
for a fact they
out.
were getting free cars a minute ago. I mean, we can't keep going round in circles.
Right, again, I didn't say. I said I've seen it and I've been told. I didn't say I knew for a fact.
And then
But
when
about
I
the
when I
house,
say
did
that that's
know for
not
a
true,
fact.
you call me condescending.
Actually, I said I find it quite condescending at times, James.
Yes.
I said I agree with what you
I don't know
said.
how to
find it
help,
quite
you see, because
condescending at times.
people believe things that aren't true, that encourage them to harbour negative thoughts and feelings towards refugees. And when I point out that the things aren't true, you think I'm condescending. I don't know what to do with those three facts, Anna. I really don't. I've got no beef with you, and your dad sounds like a lovely bloke. He really does stand in guard outside the house. But the feelings of the people that wanted to attack the house are the feelings that you're describing.
But that's again, you've completely turned everything I've said
I
around.
haven't. I've just repeated it back to you.
No, you haven't at all. I'm saying the reason why people do get upset at times, and I've said that we do need help. It's not an easy answer, but this is really happening in a lot of working class
But it isn't,
states
you see. The
across
free
country.
cars, it's not really happening.
But you keep going back to that, and I've said,
Well, because
right,
that's the
okay,
most
fair
inflammatory
enough,
thing that you
that's-
said. And I think it was in a British National Party manifesto in 2011.
But I'm only saying from people.
It was a
that
lie then, and
who
it's a
work
lie
within
now.
the council. Okay, fair enough. Then we'll call that a lie. But when we come to a housing situation, that's not a lie.
Well, no, of course it's not a lie, but everybody needs somewhere to live. And if they were putting the people that we're talking about in...
I know, but can you...
You
but
can't
what I'm
keep...
saying is, this is why people get upset.
Yes, but they'd be even more upset if they were being put in smarter parts of town. This is why it's such a reductive argument, is that they put the asylum seekers in the cheapest property available. Now, your argument is, but there are some people who were born here who want the cheapest property available as well. I've got no beef with that, but if they put them somewhere else...
Not wanting it. Not a case of I want that house. I need a house.
Yes,
I need
but if they put the
well.
asylum seekers or the refugees who are often fleeing torture and persecution and living on £5.83 a day, if they put them somewhere else, somewhere smarter, then people in the part of town you're talking about would be absolutely livid, and the Sun would have it on their front page. You remember the stories about a single mother from Syria with 8 children and a mansion in Maida Vale? So whatever happens, unless you give these people no help at all, whatever happens, what you're describing here is legit.
I'm not saying
no, you've got to let me finish one sentence, Anna.
You say you're not condescending.
No, I'm really not. I'm just asking you to let me finish one sentence because you can't hear what I'm saying if you're talking. Whatever they did, the feelings you're describing would still exist. There's nothing that can be done differently.
Watch the exact sequence in which Anna's specific claim collapses, because it's worth naming precisely. She states as fact that asylum seekers get provided cars is asked directly where she heard it. And over several exchanges, the source narrows from "I know for a fact" to "I've been told" to "I've seen it," none of which is actual evidence. That progression matters because it's the pattern worth recognizing generally, not just in this call. A claim stated with total confidence at the start of a conversation is worth testing by simply asking for its source and watching whether that source gets more specific or more vague as the conversation continues. It's worth stating plainly that the free cars claim is false as a matter of documented policy, not just O'Brien's opinion. UK asylum support has consistently operated as a modest weekly cash allowance, historically in the range O'Brien cites, roughly £40 to £50 a week, depending on the year, covering basic subsistence, not vehicles. This specific myth that asylum seekers receive free cars has circulated in the UK for well over a decade and has been repeatedly traced back to unverified social media claims and far-right political messaging rather than any actual government policy or documented case. Where this call is more genuinely useful, and where O'Brien's questioning does real work, is in separating that false claim from the real concern sitting underneath it. Competition for scarce social housing in areas where waiting lists are long and availability is limited. That's not a myth. It's a real and legitimate policy pressure point, and Anna's sister's difficulty securing a rental is a genuine, sympathetic example of it. O'Brien's response that asylum seekers are typically placed in the cheapest available housing precisely because placing them anywhere more desirable would generate a different, probably louder backlash, is a real structural point about how housing allocation actually tends to work in practice, though it's worth noting as an argument rather than a settled fact, since it's a claim about likely counterfactual public reactions that can't be directly tested or verified. Either way, the closing narration's specific historical claim, tracing this myth to a 2011 B&P manifesto, is plausible given the well-documented history of similar claims appearing in far-right literature over the years. But it's the kind of precise sourcing claim that would benefit from direct verification, rather than being taken as settled without it. Where the closing narration goes further than this call can support is attributing the entire pattern to conservative ideology dominating British politics for 50 or 60 years, which is a much larger claim about political history and causation than one Pauler's specific misconception can establish on its own. The condescending accusation Anna raises at the start is worth taking seriously on its own terms too, separate from whether the specific factual claim held up. There's a real and fair question buried in it. Is correcting someone's factual error automatically condescending, or does that depend on how it's done? O'Brien's approach here, repeatedly asking a genuine question rather than simply asserting she's wrong, is closer to the less condescending end of that spectrum. But it's worth acknowledging that being told your belief is false, however gently, doesn't always feel gentle to the person hearing it. And that discomfort is real, even when the correction itself is accurate and fairly delivered. If breakdowns like this are useful to you, get subscribed to Harry Unfiltered, and I'll keep separating the myths from the real concerns as carefully and precisely as this deserves, one call at a time.